Hello, these are MrBeast's Feastable chocolate bars. Today, I'm attempting to make my own homemade version and potentially merge my homemade one into the ultimate Feastable. Yeah, you guys have been asking me to do this video for a long time. I think even when it was harder to get these chocolate bars, they're easier to source now. However, my daughter Chloe informed me this.
So that's the old one.
Why was that the old one? I've only just got hold of these.
They've changed the packaging.
Right.
And they're supposed to taste like more different. So they're supposed to look like that now. And there's like more flavours.
Yeah, cheers for that, Chloe. These chocolate bars cost me a small fortune. So what we'll do is we'll carry on with this today, and if you like it, we'll try and improve the improved ones that they've improved, so maybe we'll find out why they improved them. So I've got the 4 chocolate bars here, and it's interesting, they go up in ingredients. The first one is basically their dark chocolate one, which is the original chocolate with 4 ingredients. The next one, 5 ingredients, and basically this is their milk chocolate bar. So the ingredient would be milk. For the crunch bar, this goes up to 6 ingredients. They've kept the milk again, so it's a milk chocolate base, but there is crunch from puffed rice, so we can just get Rice Krispies. Last up is the 7 ingredient bar, and you can sort of see why this is the Reese's sort of peanut butter theme ones, if I can say that. Deez nuts is a peanut butter one, milk base again, but with a wedge of peanut butter in the middle. So I'm really excited to clone this one, but we'll start off with the super basic one. If you've not seen it already, I did do a video years ago of making chocolate from scratch, roasting chocolate beans, grinding it down, and the most eye-opening thing about that was the amount of sugar that was used. I'm not going to do that today because I think to justify that amount of effort, I might as well just order it online, which I already have. But to coincide with the simplicity of the amount of ingredients in this bar, there is another way of making chocolate, which I've not really done on the channel before, which is fairly simple. Okay, so in this bar is 4 ingredients. Sugar, cocoa mass, which is a mixture of cocoa powder and solids, cocoa butter, and an emulsifier. This one's sunflower lecithin. Now, I've used like soy lecithin before. It's basically a thing that helps sort of make things like watery and oil. You know how like balsamic vinegar and oil separates? It kind of helps fuse it. But there's actually like a natural emulsifier in cocoa butter apparently. So we've got cocoa powder. So to counter that, I'm gonna add like a couple more chips of my cocoa butter. This stuff's good like in everywhere, like even like moisturizers and stuff. And I could have ordered the sunflower lecithin, I could have used soy lecithin, but both of those I don't have. But I do have some xanthan gum, which is also an alternative that does similar jobs. So I'm just gonna put a speck of that in. I mean, I really don't think I need to. But obviously when you're shipping it and it's in a packaging like this, is probably why it goes in there. Now the reason I wanted to try this type of chocolate, I thought the next time I do it, a lot of you guys have told me this is one of the easiest ways to make it. So that cocoa butter is just getting melted. We don't have to do it in the microwave. We could do it over a pot of simmering water, nice and slow and steady, as long as the water doesn't touch, remember? And what I love about it, I'm not panicking about tempering chocolate or anything crazy like that. I'm simply just melting up those buttons to potentially release a little bit of the fats in there. We should see some sort of fatty stuff. That was kind of a question and a fingers crossed moment. Oh yeah, oh wow, yes, yes, yes. Cocoa butter is basically the cocoa fat, and if want a nice visualization of that, now we melted it down. I mean, look at that. That is the fat that actually gets from the cocoa bean. This video could go 2 ways now. We could start making beauty products. So there goes our sugar, and we could actually, and I might do this with one of the other bars, I'm not so sure yet. We could use a natural sweetener like honey or maple syrup, something like that. So I've added the xanthan gum in with the cocoa powder, and we should just be able to drop this all in. Oh, look how dark that is. Lovely. That's looking really good. I'm really happy with that. Ooh. Okay, and just to make sure I've got most of the lumps out, I have got a sieve here. So oh my gosh. That's going all over my sieve and it's falling out. Amazing, brilliant. Good stuff, Baz. But that is actually catching some lumpage. Ugh, look at it. The good news is I don't need that much. Right, I've got a chocolate mold here, but life hacks. I've now got 3 chocolate molds. So I'm gonna put this onto a nice firm surface that I can lift easy to go in the fridge or freezer. So this has been nice and washed and obviously dried on any water in there. And hopefully we should be able to pour, oh my gosh, that looks like liquid velvet. Little tap tap to make sure it settles so any air bubbles can come to the surface. Now I'm gonna put this in the And even for those 4 ingredients, which could easily be 3 or even 2, but it did need that sugar kick, I have made quite the mess. Willy Wonka would be proud. I bung that in the freezer for 10 minutes and it set almost instantly, so it's going to probably be a bit firmer than the MrBeast one. And obviously I've never opened the MrBeast bar before. Let's have a look. Oh my goodness, look at that. That looks brilliant. I mean, the colour's probably going to be well off. In fact, let's have a look at this now. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I think I might have used a touch too much cocoa powder there. It's very thin as well, isn't it? My version of a dark chocolate bar is somewhere like normally between the two of these. That almost still looks quite light, like it's got some sort of milk in it, or they've just used less cocoa. I must admit, I do like the patterns on the chocolate, but remember, that's just all about whatever mold you pour it into. For example, we made omelette video game controllers the other day. So let's try this. Oh! My first instinct is I can taste a lot of sugar. That is very, very sweet. It's nice, and it doesn't actually taste like dark chocolate. Which I think my one, oh. Yeah, okay. I mean, colour aside, I think I've actually failed on that first one. There, I need way more sugar in there. I could probably tweak the cocoa powder down slightly to get it more that colour. Remember, the cocoa butter is a much more neutral colour. And I think we'll do just that with the milk one. Yeah, in other words, maybe it would have been a good idea if I actually looked at the bar that I was trying to clone that I've never really seen outside of a wrapper before trying to clone it, but I love a challenge. So conclusion, although the Feastables wrapper doesn't say it, there is definitely a boatload of sugar in that one. So here is, oh my word, it's only a touch lighter. Look at that. There is a slight lightness there, definitely. So their milk version has one extra ingredient, and that is obviously milk. Yep, literally the same ingredients, but normally water and chocolate, they don't like each other. So hopefully that's where the emulsifier will kind of help bond it together. I'm going to try it 2 different ways. We're going to do it with milk, but also milk powder just in case. But now I've got a rough idea of the shade that I'm after. All right, this bowl is insanely hot. I had just nearly made an extremely high-pitched noise. So like before, we're going to add in the emulsifier, and with it being milk chocolate, we're going to add in some milk powder. So I'm going to do 2 variations of this. And the cocoa powder I have got is a dark one. So that is literally about 1/5 of what I used last time. Oh, there we go. That's a much better colour. Ooh, does look like an absolute mountain of sugar, doesn't it? The only thing I'm not too keen on right now doing this method, do we need to apply more heat to break this down to really dissolve that sugar through? But that's literally what I'm about to try with another method in a minute anyway. I love how there's this like imposing jar full of sugar to the left looking on going, hey, I'm sugar. You're gonna need me, mate. You're gonna need me. So yeah, so still I'm left with a little bit of milk powder and sugar, but that's got a lot out. Ooh, with a little mix, that is definitely lighter. So let's get that in there. Yeah, definitely a paler colour. Slightly more speckled though, but I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, so I've tapped that down and it really is quite warm in here. It's like, oh, please put me in the fridge to set. I want to do a similar version to that, but instead of using the milk powder, see if we can use actual milk, which might give us more control on the colour, but setting wise, it might struggle, we'll see. As I said earlier, we've been melting these in the microwave, but you could use a bain-marie, which is what we're actually going to do for this proper milk method. So here is some water that is just coming up to roughly a boil. I'm just going to turn it down so it's a nice steady heat. We'll start to melt the cocoa butter. You can see it's starting to like melt and give way here. Look at that oil coming off of it. Awesome. And I might do this going forward anyway, just because it's given us more control for the other chocolate. What I love is we're going from like the basic chocolate and learning and trying new things to hopefully get something really similar or even better at the end. Look at that. So what I want to do is dissolve the sugar in there with the heat. And there is a lot of it. And it's the sugar that's actually starting to concern me slightly. Now, we could use icing sugar, aka powdered sugar. But look, if we just do this over the heat, all of a sudden, that sugar is dissolved in there way more than just pouring it in once it's microwaved. The heat is helping. That feels a lot smoother. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty well in there now. Right, so let's add in that xanthan gum. And again, I'm just gonna do a shimmy of this cocoa powder. Get it all nice and combined, meeting each other, going, hey, hello. Wow. Look how dark that is. But this is where the milk comes in. I don't know, that's probably like a tablespoon. And see if we can adjust that colour back. Okay, I'm going to take that off the heat. That is way lighter. Yeah, I'm just pouring this one. Oh, wow, that looks amazing. I haven't really got high hopes for this, but we've got a much, much better colour. This is going to be more of a ganache. And this is our one that's going to set. But I want to try and get that colour going forward. We'll see what happens. I'm going to set these both. Yeah, so there's our original. I'm just keeping it nice and cold. That's the one we last done. And it's kind of like, this is a mixture between these two blended. I'm really trying to get that colour though. I really liked that method of doing that over the hob. It felt like we had so much more control, especially dissolving the sugar. I think I might try an even finer sugar like the powdered sugar now. When I went in the supermarket last night, they only had this fine dark cocoa powder. They normally have like a more, well, it's still cocoa powder, it's still dark, but I might see if I can get that while I go and get some powdered sugar. And the other thing I was thinking is if I have powdered sugar, use the powdered milk, I could probably mix that with the cocoa, especially if I can get a lighter one. If not, that one will still work. And kind of make this sort of neutral powder that we want to bond with our cocoa butter. So whilst they're in the fridge setting, I'm going to pop to the shop to get those things and we'll see if we can make that happen. Folks, I've got good news and bad news. I just got back from the shop. That's another story entirely, but I'll share that with Patreon. This is the milky one. And I put that in the freezer and yeah. It's blooming nice, but that ain't never going to set. Now this is our milk chocolate one. We've got the colour better. However, this is a combination of the powder and the sugar where it's separated. I think it's a kind of a combination of what we've put in there, but also the fact that we let it sort of stand before putting it in the fridge with this one so it's had a chance to settle. So the Feastables one, yeah, it's still actually a little dark to be honest. Like, I feel like milk chocolate in the UK, like when they actually have the dairy milk, the Cadbury's one over in the US, I remember trying that and being like, this isn't dairy milk. Other brands are available, but it's a bit like Hershey's and stuff like that. It's like slightly still bitter even when it's like milky. Here's our homemade one though. Okay, that's scarily tastes similar. That is mega, mega granular, but the taste, and actually the colour isn't too bad, but we've got some more enhancements to make. The next bars still use this milk chocolate as a base, so I feel like we're getting there. Do you know, we're making like steps. All right, so this is the cocoa powder I've been using. It literally says fine, which is actually a good one to go for. You want it to be fine if you can, but it specifically says dark on there. So I went for the own brand supermarket one next, and it's called Cocoa. And there is a slight colour difference in that. This is actually slightly lighter. And then I found a branded one, which is an organic one. And look at that. That is quite the difference to the one that I've been using. So this might help us. So here's what we're going to do. Down on here again to start melting those. We're going to use the powdered sugar, so it should dissolve. We're going to use the milk powder and xanthan gum, but we can now start to add in that cocoa powder and mix it through to roughly get a sense of how dark it's going to be. And it's not going to be like bang on, but I feel like we can go like a touch darker. Yeah, obviously we've got a little bit too much of that there with the whole mass of the sugar. So I've reduced it by half. And in fact, I'll bring this down onto a trivet so you can see it better. One thing I can conclude about today though, no matter what happens, this stuff is blooming hot. I was hoping to achieve more than that, but you never know. Let's see what happens. We'll shimmy this in and see. Oh, that is a much nicer colour. And it's smooth. Oh, baby. Yes. Yes, this is the crunch one. Milk chocolate base again, which we are slowly working towards nailing. Oh my goodness. I should have bought this probably just from a shop. They had them in the supermarket where I went just then. Still the old ones though, Chloe. Still the old ones. But it has got shards of crunch in there, which is basically puffed rice, which, well, we can get that very easily, can't we? And I have to be honest, that colour is fairly similar. All right, so we've got some puffed rice in the bag, and it's a little big, so just gonna break it a little bit, just slightly smaller, crisp chunks. I've got to say though, internet, I am over the moon with the consistency of this one. This is looking really, really good. Oh, look at that, it's like liquid velvet. Gonna sprinkle me rice pieces in, tap it in. What's that from? Happy Gilmore? Just gotta tap it in. All right. Do you know what would be really cool in here? I don't know what they call it in other countries, but certainly in the UK, Cocoa Pops for that double chocolatey crunch. Ooh. All right, this set's so quick in the freezer. Like I say, it's not a decent set, but it will do. Look, that is proper crunch. You've heard of MrBeast? I'm Mr. Yeast. Oh my gosh. Yes, that colour's amazing. Let's just see. Oh. Wow. We are getting that crunch in the middle. Yes, yes, yes. Or visually at least. Mmm. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa, yes. That is sensational. We've nailed the colour. We've got rid of that bloom in there where it sort of settled where we left it out. So chilled it quickly. The grittiness from the sugar, although we could have like pushed it through a food processor to grind it down more, the powdered sugar has absorbed right in there. And it tastes like really similar to that. Although this now feels like more granular. I prefer this. And yes, I am biased. I think I also like it more because it's like cold. It tastes fresher that way. Damn. Anyhow, we're gonna do the last bar now, which is a peanut butter one. Yep, so it's Deez nuts. Milk chocolate with peanut butter. 7 ingredients, ironically, and the other one being peanut butter. But what I'm hoping... Ooh, here we go. Look at that. Yes, again, very similar colour. I mean, it's the milk chocolate base. That chocolate is just the chocolate, disappointingly. However, there is a band. Thank you. Sorry. Look, see, there is a band of peanut butter running through the middle of it. Very, very thin, delicate layer. Almost like a mini Reese's peanut butter cup within a bar. Oh, I'm disappointed with that. I feel like there's not enough bite in that. So for this one, we've nailed the chocolate base pretty much. We've now just got to sort out the peanut butter filling. So we'll make our own peanut butter from scratch, which is one ingredient. A sort of taste of clay. We can definitely enhance that. So these are some peanuts. You can buy ones that are already roasted, but hey, it's still classed as one ingredient. Let's roast them ourselves. The oven is not an ingredient. Whoa. Can you see? There's a nice light golden colour on there. Could have pushed it more. We could add some salt in there as well, other flavourings if we want. But these little babies are packed full of heat. They're like little mini jacket potatoes. Are roasting hot right now. Literally. Hopefully you can see. I could probably get that a little smoother if I wanted to, if I kept going. That is definitely fine for what I need. Our hot stuff is back again. Wow. Except this time, I'm only going to shimmy in about 50% of what we added again, because I think that's going to be enough. I really do. So impressed by it. The taste is so close, it's crazy. And look, you can see the difference with the powdered sugar, because there's hardly anything going up the sides like when we use the other sugar. It just dissolves in and wants to be part of the party. Probably going to have to do this in 2 batches. A steady layer on first of all, just to fill the grids up. Now I'm going to very quickly set this in the freezer to give it a sort of base for the peanut butter to sit on. Okie doke, that has set fairly well. So what I'm doing is just kind of dolloping a little channel, trying to encase that peanut butter in. Oh yeah, can you see the gaps disappearing? I'm not going to say it's going to be as perfect as something made in a factory, but we have pretty much covered all of that up. Right, let's set this. Okay, so this one, I knew that would happen. A little bit of the peanut butter has seeped through, but to be fair, my mold is quite narrow. But I actually, do you know what, I kind of like that. If I saw that as a bar, I'd be like, that's cool. Obviously underneath, it's nice and flat still, like how we saw it. Oh, and that is a proper filling, isn't it? Actually, if we just compare that, you can sort of see why it was trying to escape out the sides. Look at the difference in that. And obviously that's fresh peanut butter too, but maybe I wedged a bit too much in there, but hey, I'm not complaining. Oh, really nice, really light, nice little crunch. And because it's chilled again, like I say, it just feels and tastes fresher. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to really beat that. It does remind me of clay for some reason. I don't know why. But it's fine. But like with anything, if you make it fresh, there's just something that little bit better about it. So What I thought I'd do is try and make my ultimate version based roughly on these with maybe one extra ingredient that if I was gonna make this, that I would do as a Barry's bar or whatever, you'll see. So let's do this from the top because I think we've nailed this. This is 50 grams of cocoa butter. Again, I don't know why, I probably could use the microwave, but there's just something about today where I found that this just gives me like, I feel like I'm part of it, do you know what I mean? Translation, we're just gonna melt that again. This is 80 grams of icing sugar, 2 tablespoons of the milk powder, and I'm using a tablespoon of the cocoa powder. The only thing I'm not adding in this time is the xanthan gum. That's just a personal choice. I just feel like, I don't know, I was just looking at the ingredients pack, trying to copy a commercial bar, and I don't think it's needed for what you're doing. So that with the cocoa butter is the base mix that I've been using that I'm really, really happy with, okay? I just might slightly enhance this for Barry's bar version of that. So here's our melted cocoa butter, and I was sort of in two minds because I really did like that Reese's peanut butter vibe of like wedging peanut butter between the chocolate. Now, in fact, if I wanted to make it more Reese's peanut butter, I would actually add some of the powdered sugar, icing sugar in with the peanut butter, mix that together until you got a bit more of a paste texture, and that's pretty much a Reese's peanut butter filling. In fact, I could have done that in our last one, but I thought I'd try something different, which could in fact ruin my texture of my chocolate. I'm gonna put a little bit of peanut butter just in the chocolate itself. I know what that was. So I'm talking like literally a teaspoon of our freshly made peanut butter and a little bit of salt. Should break that through and just give it that peanut flavor. Because we're gonna shimmy in the chocolate. I can't believe we've managed to get it. Tastes so close, it's brilliant. Now, this is nowhere near my dream chocolate bar. Maybe that's an entire video altogether. I'm kind of trying to stay within the realms of what these chocolate bars were. And I'm loving that color. It's nice and smooth. And it has got a delicate peanut butter waft, which is actually my dream aftershave smell. Oh, it's so smooth. I love it. I've learned so much today. It's been a blooming long day. I'm not going to quite fill it up just yet because, well, one, I really, really liked the crunch that we put in the bar before. That was awesome. And two, the company that did the cocoa powder that sort of saved the day, they sell these cocoa nibs. You see that? These are chocolate coated cocoa nibs. So I really want to get that extra bit of crunch in there. And I was so tempted to put some of the peanuts in there. So hopefully what looks like an innocent chocolate bar on the top is going to have quite a hidden element underneath, including this. Bashing up those peanuts that we roasted earlier that were left over. This should all just sort of set in and bite together, and I don't know about if it's just me. Maybe hazelnuts, but I had the peanuts to hand. That's looking blooming awesome. Look at that. I hope that was in focus. If not, modern art. So I've just put that in the fridge to set, and today hasn't really been about trying to like beat this bar, but I mean, we've got the taste now after all this tweaking to be pretty much identical. I think the bottom line is sugar. But remember, you could try putting honey in instead if you prefer. So let's let that set and we'll see what it's like. Here we go then, folks. Look at that. It's all set. Lovely. Oh, wow. I love the speckles of the cocoa nibs through it. Brilliant. But it doesn't quite look like a chocolate bar until it's wrapped. Yeah, there we go. Yes, Mr. Beast, you might have Deez nuts and many other variations, in fact, millions and millions of sales, but you do not have mine. That does look pretty cool like that, doesn't it? There's something stereotypical about a chocolate bar when you can see like the foil and the chocolate too, plus the very expensive wrapper. But look at the colours on the back, that's amazing. Oh, we've got the peanut butter running through it, the chunks of the peanuts as well, the crispness from the cocoa nibs, and of course the crunchiness from that puffed rice, again inspired by one of the other bars. I'm not trying to say this is shocking, of course there are better ones like Chloe said at the start. Perhaps we can do a follow-up to this if you enjoyed it. I'll write the recipe up if you fancy trying it for yourself, but before we go, let's fast forward to 2 days' time. Hello, we are back. I've got some more cocoa butter, oh my gosh, starting to melt because I've got hold of this. This is a bag of cocoa mass from Ecuador, and this is the sunflower lecithin. I got both of that online. So now we've got the actual proper ingredients for this bar. I mean, the lecithin just kind of looks the same as soy lecithin, to be honest. It looks absolutely identical. A little bit darker than the xanthan gum, but we'll go for it. But it's this cocoa mass which is actually sometimes called cocoa, I think, liquor. They look like innocent chocolate chips. And I don't mind like dark chocolate chips, but these are basically like cocoa chalk. There is no sweetness in there at all. It is literal cocoa. So in these chocolate bars, although especially with the milk ones, we've managed to clone it really, really well, the cocoa's done a fairly good job, but this is gonna make it more intense. It's quite important, especially with those mass being in larger chunks, that we kind of get this working fairly quick. It's amazing, isn't it? You just add icing sugar. Oh look, white chocolate. White chocolate, black pizza. It's been a hell of a couple of days, folks, but you'll see that video next if you fancy it. Black pizza. Let's get that sunflower lecithin in, but this is still nice and hot. So there is the dark 4-ingredient MrBeast bar, and we've got our 3 ingredients here already, exactly the same ones. So if we start to add in the cocoa mass, I'm gonna have to do this quite quick. There we go, look at that already, that colour. Boom. So I think that would have been a good shade for milk chocolate, but we can keep pushing it. So I added about another 3 times that amount. Look at the shine on that. That is so glossy and reflective. And of course, we've got to give the proper bar some slack because of packaging and transportation considerations, but this is all about trying to nail that taste. I don't know if the shade's exactly the same, but it is definitely dark compared to the milk, which we'll also do. So that one's just gone in the fridge for a minute. Yeah, and this is the milk one compared to the dark. So that's more the shade we're going for. We nailed the taste of this already. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the cocoa mass does. It's pretty close, actually. I am loving that color. And there we have it. It's actually very similar colors, but I'm more actually concerned about the taste. So it's the milk one that we actually nailed. That cocoa mass, I think maybe it's actually made it slightly firmer, but that taste is pretty much identical. I'm really happy with that one. But it was the dark one at the start of the video that we kind of like had a bit of a problem with, and we thought, well, we'll just work our way through it. And I think we have, right? Oh, that actually tastes pretty much identical. Maybe slightly richer a touch, so I could have taken the cocoa mass down by like 10%. But with both of these, there's that freshness of making it yourself compared to it being in packaging like any other chocolate bar. Oh, don't get me wrong, it's no mine bar. But I'm so glad I've added this bonus scene of sourcing those actual ingredients, because that is pretty much a clone. I'm really happy. Everything's getting smaller, isn't it? These sticks are much smaller than they used to be. Howdy doody dangly folks, it's Barry here. Hope you are well. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making a homemade KitKat. Yes, the delicious wafery chocolatey snack available most places around the world, and in fact in some countries, as we've done a taste test previously, they do some absolutely bonkers flavours. Now this came about because I was rummaging through my silicone storage tub. That's how cool I am now. I've now got some silicone storage tubs, and I found this. This is perfect for a KitKat. If you don't know what one is, I'll quickly show you in a moment, but this will give us the individual fingers. Most commonly in the old days it was in 4s, but now, as I was out in the supermarket yesterday, 2s seems to be the more interesting thing, and they're smaller than these used to be, so hopefully we can make them a bit more gourmet, a bit more chunky. And this happened. This is the supermarket yesterday. I'm feeling good about this one.
Really?
This is the 6th supermarket we've been in, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're trying to get wafers. They ain't got it, have they?
No, you owe me 10p.
We've been in every single supermarket. We've got every other cone you can think of.
10p, please.
So I basically owe Chloe 10p. I took her all around all these supermarkets. She wasn't feeling very well, bless her. And they wanted to get those simple ones that are like a pack of card wafers. You could get them normally everywhere. Maybe it's a lockdown thing, but I legitimately went in 6 supermarkets and 2 other stores and could not find them at all. But instead of that, and to actually emphasize the homemade style KitKat anymore, for the first time ever, I'm actually gonna try and make my own homemade wafers. Oh yes. Oh yeah, but these sticks, everything's getting smaller, isn't it? These sticks are much smaller than they used to be. It does say KitKat on it. I'm not going to go to that level, but hopefully snap it down the middle And it's basically a stack of wafers which are actually held together with chocolate, surrounded by chocolate. So we can perfectly make this super simply. We can flavour it with so many things. So obviously this is chocolate orange, we'd use orange extract. We can even put orange extract in our wafer. But I think I'm going to stick to vanilla. Actually, just as a backup, Chloe did drop these on the supermarket floor. This was the only thing that I could find as an alternative if this doesn't work, and it's actually what we're trying to replicate anyway, but they've got like a hazelnut cream inside. So this is basically what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and create this. We're not going to be able to get the grid pattern on it like you get on standard wafer because I don't have a press. We're going to roll it out old school with a rolling pin, but this could actually work inside our molds too. So we might do one of those as well, kind of like a Nutella vibe. All right, so my vision in my mind of making these was kind of like in a frying pan or something, but we are going to bake them because we're not using a press, and we make a kind of dough which does take a few hours to set, which is good because then I can walk the dogs. But first of all, to the appliance garage for the electric whisk. We're ready. All right, first thing we need is some sugar. Boom. And this, with the random hole in it, because I think that's where the microwave hits it, is some butter that I've just pushed into the microwave through a ramekin sort of thing, just blast it for a little bit to soften it up. Smooth, creamy, addictive, and for a moment it might feel like we're making a cake. Because inside this bowl now, we're gonna add some more familiar things like egg. Oh, I just got some dough on the camera. How long has that been there? Sorry about that. And as they're mainly sort of vanilla wafers, we are gonna put some vanilla extract in. This is my first time at the rodeo with wafers, so let's just go vanilla. All right, so let's make it even more cakey now by adding flour. Well, at least that'll thicken it up and hopefully make it the plain flour. And there is my baking powder. I'm just gonna randomly just scatter that around in there. Pass it through a sieve in 3 or 4 batches, folding it in each time as I go, as lump free as possible. I'll get it all in there and I'll see you in a jiffy. That is proper tough now, but it's still a little bit wet, which is why when we refrigerate it, it should firm that butter up and hold it together into that dough. So, to the Rapmaster 3000. And there we go. In a bit, apparently, I don't know if this is gonna work, this will be traditional thin wafers for our homemade gourmet KitKats. All right, guys, we've got some time to kill. Do you fancy a walkies? I was just thinking to myself, if this does really work though, and we've got to take little baby steps, like little kitty catty steps, we're gonna make this cat purr, okay? So kind of like in Asia where you get those wasabi flavored ones where the chocolate is dyed green to enhance it, right? We could do our own version. You can let me know down below perhaps like any crazy flavor ideas you've got. Maybe we could do like a bacon one, or maybe we could do a Biscoff one, or a Ferrero Rocher one. The possibilities are endless, but let's just take baby kitty cat steps first to see if we can nail this. I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm gonna go walk the dogs and I'll see you in a bit. Why is beef stew a bad password, Chloe?
I don't know.
Because it's not stroganoff. That is way too much than I need, so I'm probably gonna slice it into like 8s. We want to roll it out apparently so it's super thin, almost to the point of it being transparent. And it does smell quite vanilla-y, but it also smells very buttery and looks a lot like butter. Please work. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll push it down a bit like this. It just feels like I'm making pastry. Wow. Oh wow, yeah, that's you really have to keep this floured. Oh my gosh, it's very temperamental. But the good thing is, I only need a very small amount. So I'm gonna focus on this middle section and get that is really thin right there. Yeah, that's delicate, oh my gosh. Oh no, no! You see it there? What do? Do I bake it like that and then slice it afterwards? Yeah, I think I will, just in case it expands or anything. And then I'll keep doing that with other bits. So let's jump to a baking tray that's covered, right, with a Barry Lewis non-slip mat and a few more that are equally as thin as this and just as much dusted in flour. As easy as that. If you look at that, does that scream to you wafers?
Yes.
Oh, I love your confidence. Oven's preheated. In it goes, fingers crossed, for a massive massive 6 minutes. I've not been this excited since my wedding day. Alright, the timer's just gone. It's been in there for a massive 7 minutes in the end.
There we go.
They look like crackers.
Yes, but if they had these patterns on...
What, using the sausage cutter thing?
Yeah. Then they wouldn't. They would have looked like... It's just because they've not got the patterns on. If the ones in the shop didn't have patterns on, they would look like that.
Alright, cool. Well, I'm not going to let them cook anymore, they'll burn. Ah, that pan's hot. These things have just cooled down in a matter of seconds because they're so thin. I don't know if this has worked, but I'm going to get you, Mrs. B, to taste... ooh.
Oh wow.
That's a wafer.
Mmm. Tastes just like it.
That's a wafer. Yeah, but it looks like the ugliest wafer in the world.
Aww. Don't hurt his feelings. Don't judge a wafer by its cut.
Don't judge a wafer by its cut. Okay. So now I'm going to slice the wafer up into pieces so they'll fit into these slots and compartments, which is going to be fun. Right, folks, I'm having a bit of a nightmare here. I've tried slicing it off camera and my worst nightmares are coming true. Basically, I think I'm going to have to bake another batch, which is not a problem. This is the sharpest knife I've got. They're very, very good. I've tried slicing it down fast. And because they're so light and airy, they crumble nicely, but I'm not getting a consistent shape on it. Right, I'm going to bake another batch. I'm going to cut them all into strips. You didn't see that. I'm going to roll the dough out, get it into nice strips, like this. Look, I know I was going to do the clicky thing and it suddenly appeared, but I just want to show you this. By actually putting it onto my Silpat, oh, I can roll it possibly thinner than before. And now I'm going to slice it into rectangles on here that should fit. So these are some of those other wafers that I've cut to size that should give me the perfect size. If I just mark that about there. So that is the effort I've gone to make 3 teeny weeny wafers. There we go, folks. It looks like a tray of chips, but no, it is hopefully some custom cut to size waffle sticks that will actually, I'm only going to bake these for about 5 minutes, so they're not so golden this time. There is definitely a hole in these gloves. Mrs. B.
Oh yeah. I forgot to tell you. I think there's a hole in the oven glove.
Thanks, mate. These have got a nice light, a couple of them are caught a teeny bit, but just starting to go slightly lightly golden on that. So we're happy with that. I think this has worked. And the ones that have joined together a teeny bit, I've now got some lines that whilst it's warm, I'll just part those and hopefully we're going to be able to stack those wafers into this KitKat. So we're going for the 4-finger variety. So I've got 9 there, bizarrely. So what I've created is this little NASA foil separator tray, trademark, which is going to hopefully separate the chocolate. We're going to do one batch with these ready-made wafers that have got the chocolate spread. And I noticed that they don't quite fit in there. They're a little bit too wide. I cut them down to size. I then took a little bit off the top, like that top wafer, like this. Stack them on top. So there's my pile of them there, and they will slot in here. Now, obviously with my homemade wafers, I don't have the spread on just yet, so I'm going to melt some chocolate, brush it in between, and hopefully they'll fit in the other 4 compartments. So here are my ones that I've just baked. A little bit lighter in colour, no ripples on them, but they are wafers. That's the most important thing. And by slicing them before baking them, they did hold their shape. And I think stacking them in about 4 with chocolate in between roughly gives me the same height as these ones. So let's get some melted chocolate on to fuse these together. It'll either be 3 or 4 high. We'll find out now. All right, folks, just some very quickly melted chocolate that I've got a pastry brush, and I'm just gonna spread that on there like so. Ugh. Chocolate is almost as good as super glue in terms of sticking things together. Half the walls in this house when we did the extension, the builder laughed at me. We actually joined them together with chocolate. Who's laughing now, huh? Right, so there we go, a little bit on the bottom one to wedge that on. And that is our homemade wafer stack done. I've just got to do it 3 more times. we're gonna have two different KitKats then. We've got the ready-made waffles already printed with the hazelnut spread on there, or our homemade smooth, non-printed ones, but rammed with homemade baked vanilla flavor. So this bit of foil, we can put chocolate on the edge as well to give it that raft effect that you get with a traditional KitKat. But first of all, we need a little bit of chocolate in all of these compartments before sticking these in there and then drenching it in the rest of it so it will submerge and fill all around the wafers. Let's go. My favourite way to melt chocolate is to take around about 75% of the total chocolate you're using and put it in a microwave safe bowl into small chunks. I just use the one that we just made the sauce with for the wafers. 30-second blast. Every 30 seconds I'll give it a little stir. It shouldn't take long. And once we've got it nice and smooth, we'll dump in 24, cheeky, percent of the chocolate left over still whole, and using the residual heat to melt it through. It kind of does like a Cheats Temper, which is a good nightclub. You should go there. It's hot. That's how we want it. Nice and smooth. Augustus Gloop approved. Let's just shimmy that in like that. Let that heat melt it up, and that'll be ready for our mold. Mold is such a weird name, isn't it? It can be like a lovely thing that encases and gives a chocolate identity, but can also mean something when you've left fruit out for far too long. So just like my favourite herb, we are going to take our time. And instead of like going gun-ho and pouring it in, we are going to get a little teaspoon and just drizzle it into the bottom section, okay? Because you want a little base for our biscuits to sit on. Just make sure, just like when you're sat on a beach, that the bottom is covered. It's a lot easier if you give it a little tap to settle it as well. Make sure there's no air bubbles in there. Really, really important with that. When I went to old Cadbury World with the kids and Mrs. B, not only did we go in some weird cinema, 4D cinema, a billion times, which is about one of the only cool things that we enjoyed there, but we also learned that they like to tap the chocolate mould like that. Oh, no, not this thing. We need that. Awesome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick this in the freezer for about, I don't know, a few minutes just to get an initial tack to it so the biscuits sit on it and don't stick through the bottom, which will eventually be the top. You stay with the sweet corn, mate, all right? Cheers. That has literally been 2 minutes. I'm not sure if you can see, but it is just tacky on there, and that's all we need is a little platform for our wafers to sit on. It's amazing because the wafers I was after, we used them when we made the giant KitKat before, which was for our wedding day, amazingly. And that would have made it so much harder if we couldn't get them back then. A lot of you are saying, when's the next supersized guy's giant food? Well, the whole thing with COVID, it does make things a little tricky at the moment. But we are actively talking about the next one. Oh, well, I might do one myself. I nearly did a giant mozzarella stick the other day, so I might have to do that for the time being. And there we go, ready for a good chocolate drenching, except I've forgotten one key element to separate the two rafts. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of made-up KitKats from homemade recipe. So we'll just get that about there. It might look like a lot, but by tapping it, see? It's finding its way into the groove. This is now going in the freezer, or you can put it in the fridge if you want, just to firm up, and we should then have our own homemade KitKats. Okay folks, it has been about half an hour in the freezer, so they should be nice and firmed up. This is a standard KitKat. In fact, there's two finger ones, so we've got a 4-finger one for comparison. Let's get the other ones out the molds. Yeah, that's rock hard. I won't be using that, but as you can see, it's giving me those two separate rafts. I can't remember which one's which, and also if we stuck some little letters on this bottom side, we probably could have made our own lettering on there. Let's just see. Oh my god. Come on. Oh no. No, I broke it off. Well, I broke a finger off. But it looks amazing. It's breaking as it's coming out of the mould. Oh no. No. Oh, they look amazing though. We can get around this, guys, don't worry. What we'll do is we'll chop off the edges and create another raft in a foil tray like this. All right, I can only see a couple where, do you see the importance of tapping it down? That's where we just missed that gap. I thought I got most of them, but hey, make sure you do tap it down a lot. But what I've got is a piece of foil, and I'm just gonna put a dollop of chocolate around about there. I'm gonna lift one press it on, and this will be snapped off just at the end, okay? So we're sort of forming our own little raft like that, okay? So line it up properly. I'm gonna do the same to that, and then we can cut off any excess simply because it didn't come out the mold and I want it to look proper, okay? You don't have to do this sort of level. Okay, so after a little freeze and a little trim, we have now got them on their own rafts with the standard KitKat in the middle. So hopefully we should be able to pick it up. Oh, yeah, and just snap it off the raft like this. Oh, I mean, it kind of defeats the point with the whole mold thing, but I just really wanted it to be like that. Now, I don't know which one this is. Oh, yes. Yeah. Look, this is my homemade one because they're slightly chunkier, and this is the, no, I guess, like neater stacked ready-made wafers. Let's have a taste. I've just had to slice the standard KitKat as well. You can see how that's the benefit of making it homemade, and of course we could have flavoured it as well so many different ways. So if you do want me to make the crazy KitKat ideas, I will do that in a future video. Now I understand the process, and hopefully in that time I can get myself an actual wafer press as well. So I think they just look awesome. The bubbliness, and in the homemade biscuit one I did, it's sort of that airy, yeah, bubbliness, is that the word? I don't know, it's not just like a stodge of biscuit in both forms. It's nice stacks with the chocolate either side. Amazing, I'm super happy. A lot of work here. Could have just gone and bought some KitKats, but I'm really happy with this. Let's try the ready-made ones. Oh, really nice, melt in the mouth. A little bit of a Nutella vibe going on because of the hazelnut spread in between those wafers, which is amazing on its own. And then my own homemade ones. Oh, that tastes like ice cream. I think it justifies it. The freshness, the chunkiness, there's just something quite wholesome about making it yourself, knowing what you're kind of putting into it rather than your standard one, which is way smaller. All the stuff in the shops are getting smaller and more expensive, so have it a go. And maybe at your next house party, if you do, send me a picture. I'd love to see it. And as I say, do let me know if you want to see me make some custom ones. For me, it's worth the effort. And these are my favourites. Oh, see ya.